to know that I do care about you. I really do. And I care about what you guys are asking me. So in this segment, guys, I'm Shane Snipes, and you're watching sustainable1000.com and TV and radio. We're doing lots of videos. I'm doing 1,000 interviews across 48 states in about 222 days. I had to come up with a nice one.
I was going to say that must have been a catchy number.
It is a catchy number for sure. I'm talking to Hilary Williams. She's a designer here in Des Moines, Iowa, and she has an exhibit that we're talking about, and that's what's right here behind me. Really cool space. And it's talking about how food affects us and what statistics around food influence why and how and when. So it's an educational piece, but it's also pretty eye-catching. So a great combination of factors there to help you guys and me learn about sustainability. I'll be doing a walkabout with my video camera in a few minutes. You guys won't see that for a couple weeks because that'll have to be cut together. But at least you get this live preview right here and get the chance to talk directly with Hilary. So ask your questions. I know I have a few of them. I got about 45 or 50 questions for her. So I'll pick a few of those. But in the meantime, send these over to me. All right, so let's start out with a couple of questions.
Okay.
So the first question is from Mira, and Mira says, as an artist, I love what you're doing with the bright colors. Why did you choose yellow?
Yeah, good question. I chose yellow on the piece here that we talked about a little, the yellow and black one, because I think yellow and black together connote caution in our culture. We're used to seeing caution signs that are yellow and black. So I wanted to suggest with color that we're, if not at a point of alarm, at least at a point where we really need to stop and think about this. So the yellow started there, and I wasn't actually planning on yellow for the wall until I got into the space. And this is such a long, narrow space that I rethought my colors from the first exhibition to the next and decided to carry that out.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. It's those sorts of things that I don't really usually notice, and that's why I take your questions. Peter. Peter from Illinois, actually. He says, love the look and the feel. Do you think do you use enough statistics, do you think, to tell your story? Or are there other materials that people can carry around with them and learn as they walk?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a fine line between having enough statistics to build a narrative and so many that we feel bombarded and don't even know how to respond to them. So my hope is that I've achieved a good balance here. I guess I'll see with the survey in terms of what moves people or doesn't move people. There is a take-home component that I guess we haven't talked about yet. In lieu of an exhibition catalog for the show, I printed a take-home version of the seasonal calendar of local foods. So that has some other information that's not statistics, but is usable.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I think it's over here. This?
It is. Yep, the spiral bound.
Yeah, this is really awesome. And we'll do a quick little walkthrough of this because I think it's awesome what you're doing with that piece of it. So we got the cover here, and then you go through it, and it kind of walks through. Is it like this?
Nope, it is tall. So
Okay.
It is this way. There are a few pages with sections of some of the graphics on dining plates, a preview of what's in the show, a statement, thank yous, those sorts of things, biography.
Right.
Something you'll see in the walk around. I looked at putting the information about the seasonality of local foods in two different versions because I did some research on cognitive psychology and learned from Howard Gardner's readings that when things are presented in multiple ways, they're more likely to change our minds. Right. He calls it representational redescriptions. So the same information...
Did you guys get that? Representational redescriptions. That's awesome.
So we'll jump ahead a little. These colored bands show all the different foods that grow in Iowa at some point in the year, color-coded by category.
Nice.
And as we go into each month, you'll see we start with April at the beginning of the growing and harvest season. Less available there, many more when we get later in the year. So if I just flip back for a minute, on these dining plates, I have the same information, but each food is a circle on the outer rim, and it's hollow if it's not available that month, and it's colored in if it is.
Wow, that is really cool. What a great way to represent something like a seasonal calendar.
Yeah, I thought visualizing it, there are many sources out there that tell you what grows when or when to plant what, but for me, the idea of something consolidated and visually comprehensible that could sit on your kitchen wall is really exciting. So the next stage, you asked earlier about where I see this project heading.
Yeah.
My immediate next phase is I'm interested in developing a mobile website that would let you access that, say, right at the farmer's market if you're wondering whether raspberries are still in season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really cool. Yeah. I have this awesome developer that I met just over the way in Iowa City. Yep. She's very cool. She developed this application. I love it. Her friends use solar or electric cars, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'm not sure how far I'm going to be able to get on my electric car on one charge. Because it says 100 miles, but sometimes I'll go only like 50 miles and I'll be 90% discharged. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm not getting that kind of miles per gallon. So there are all these different factors that she put into place, like what the current weather is and whether it's raining and the type of traction on your tires, whether you're running your headlights, what kind of things you're using, are you an aggressive driver, what your tire inflation is, and how many hills and grades are you going back and forth from. And it's all, basically, she used all this GIS or graphic information systems, data, which is the stuff that you see on cool things like Google Maps, where you see the terrain. Mm-hmm. And so she put all that into these different physics formulas because she's a physicist. Yeah. And then she programmed it out into an actual application.
Yeah, so what a great useful tool.
I know. So now you can actually see if you're going from like someplace in western part of California through to the eastern side, you're probably going to go over mountains. And when you go over mountains,
affect it.
Yeah, totally. And you'll be able to see if you don't have weather, let's say 2 weeks out, but you're planning a trip 2 weeks from now, it'll look at historical weather to make the considerations.
That's great.
Yeah, so cool stuff like that I feel like now with your calendar, for example, that really cool calendar that you have, we can start to really understand and make more intelligent choices.
Yeah, that's my hope that, in terms of a micro level of understanding that we might know, can I buy potatoes this week at the grocery store or at the farmer's market? But I think in terms of the larger function, I hope that maybe it'll reconnect us to the land. And that might be idealistic of me, but I think for those of us who don't live in rural areas, we're not very connected to what grows when, or even to the fact that things are seasonal. We're so accustomed to getting any food at any time, in any place, and that's not entirely true.
Absolutely. And one more props. Thanks a lot, Hilary, for that. And we have tons more questions for you, but and I'll try to do one more, I think, and then we'll call it a day as far as this goes. So Antonello from Italy says, I love what you're doing here. The slow food movement, started there, is something that we've been practicing for quite a long time now. And I'm wondering in America if you are going to move toward labeling anything with processed foods in it, like we do here in Italy. Because anything created in a restaurant that has processed food has an asterisk or a notation.
Wow. We don't have anything like that here now. That would be great. I don't know if we'll move toward that. I know we do have a number of slow food chapters here in the U.S. We have one here in Des Moines. I invited them to the show. I hope they'll make it. It's interesting to think about labeling. I had even, when I first started this project, wondered about designing labeling to go on food packaging in grocery stores, charting perhaps how far it's traveled right along the list of ingredients that would let you see how processed it is.
Sure.
I realized that wasn't a very intelligent solution because the same package travels any number of locations and different distances, but I think it's great to really be thinking about those simple ways that something as simple as an asterisk on a menu might denote something about the food that we can then understand in a different way.
Yeah. Although in our case in America, we might want to put the asterisk next to the stuff that doesn't have anything processed in it.
To save some ink.
Exactly. Otherwise, people will be like, why does everything have an asterisk next to it?
Yes.
But that's just kind of how we are and where we are at this point. You were talking about back just then something that kind of sparked something in my mind relative to sharing information, getting information out to people. I think that's something that we can continue to learn more and more about.
Yeah.
And sharing that. And one of the ways that we might be able to do that, like right now you have to count calories, you have to put your calorie amounts on your product. Well, most businesses that have large distribution systems, or even moderate-sized distribution systems, track the amount of distance that things travel, because they need to do it for logistical reasons and to track efficiency. So if we can then, if it were required to give that information to the public, then we could use our cell phones and do a barcode code scan
Yep.
and actually
See where
have
it
that
originated.
built into it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so hopefully that's going to be coming down the pipeline. I know Walmart is working on a system that will allow them to track some of that
Yeah,
information.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
we're moving there.
It'll probably end up one of those complex formulas like what you're talking about for, how far the electric car can go.
Yeah.
Because I think in some ways we've latched onto food miles as a number, a quantitative thing to put on a food product. And I think it's valuable in some respects, but there are so many other factors too. How is it grown? Who gets the money for it? What's the larger system? So it'll be really interesting to think about whether there are ways we can summarize those into some measure or some.
Absolutely.
visual.
That is so true. I appreciate that. And I'm going to holy cow, I had no idea that you had so much on there.
Yeah, I teach web design, so it's good practice for me to get stuff out there.
Seriously. Thanks so much, Hilary. Hilary Williams is designer and instructor here at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. She is